everyone! So this week I wanted to do a little bit more practice of some concepts that I really want to nail, and this time I was thinking I really want to get cloth and capes a little bit more fine-tuned and get a little bit better at them. As I was looking through the collection or the piles of potential that I have here behind me, I saw the Watcher from KDM. He is one of the last bosses that you fight in the game, and he is essentially one giant floating cape with some lanterns around him. So I thought this was the perfect opportunity not only to practice cloth and capes, but also maybe to get some OSL work in as well and pull out the airbrush and try to get a little bit better at all those things. Now, looking at this model, I was thinking that first prime him with the airbrush, and I can get some of the base OSL down with just the airbrush, you know, get the white and then the layers of yellow to orange and things like that. I'm really curious and interested to try that out using an airbrush. I think it'll look really nice. Now, after I prime the cape, this is where I think it's gonna get a little bit trickier, where as this is a lot of cloth and there's, you know, dips and all that stuff, it's not as wavy as you see a lot of Warhammer capes tend to be. It's a little bit more precise in terms of the shading and the highlighting. I would think it seems like it should be less, but you have to be a little bit more precise about where you place it so that it makes sense in regards to where the cloth is flowing. So that'll be interesting to say the least, but this model is really cool. I love the game KDM. Any sort of game that has base management and things like that, I absolutely love. Let's jump right into it, starting with basing and priming him in black, because KDM is set in a very dark setting, so we really want him to look like he's in the shadows, and the only lights that you really see are just on the lanterns hanging on him. So let's do it. I swear, some days airbrushing feels like a wonderful, magical experience. It works perfectly and everything's coming out so good. And then other times I just want to grab the airbrush and throw it across the room. And today's one of those days. Like, I just would try to switch from one color to the other pretty quickly, and it would always get clogged up and I'd have to spend half an hour cleaning it out. I'm just gonna go the normal paintbrush route from here on out. I'm just gonna really try working on the glazing part of it and having it really watered down, so that way I can build up these layers really smoothly. So far I have them colored in like a dark blue-green. This is just gonna be the standard base color of his robes. And then I'm gonna start building up where you're gonna see the light really hitting it and highlighting it where those lamps are, and then getting even darker into almost like a blue-black into the shaded parts where you don't see those lanterns. So let's start highlighting. Let's go. It's the next morning, so day 2, and last night I did a lot of blending for the lighting and how I think it's going to hit all of his cloth and stuff like that. And I just got so like lost in the blending process that I forgot how late it was. The next thing I know, it had been hours later and I was really tired. I don't know what it is about just the process of blending things in that just gets me so hyper focused, and I just lose myself to it. And even though it's never like perfect, I just like love that transition and trying to find the best way to get there. And every time I feel like I get a little better, which is really cool. So I really hope that the blending I ended up doing for this and where I placed the lightest parts makes sense in terms of where the lanterns are. I feel like I won't see that until I start putting the yellow and orange colors on there and seeing how it really works. But I think it looks okay. I ended up placing some light on the edges of where his hood is, because if not, I feel like his hood would just get lost in the whole just figure. I ended up putting like a really dark color on the very tops of his shoulders and his head, since that's gonna be covered the most from his cloth, if that makes sense. So now the plan is I think I'm gonna use like a contrast paint to put a yellow color over where I've highlighted everything, so that way you can see both the color of the cloth and the reflection of the light, and sort of keep adding other layers of the contrast paint where it makes sense. Let's see how this works. I'm too scared to do like a yellow glaze, because the paints that I have for glazing are like my normal acrylic paints or the Army Painter, and I don't think they work very well in a glaze. I think they still end up kind of chalky. I'm slowly trying to build up a new paint collection, but most of my paints are still Army Painter and I don't want to risk that. But I do think their Army Painter contrast paints are much nicer quality. I can get the colors that I want while still showing the brightness and darkness of it, and we'll see how that goes. So let's start getting the color on there, and after that it's really just the lanterns and he should be done. So let's go. I feel like it wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't do something that made me panic when I did it. So it's day 3. I didn't have a lot of time to work on it yesterday, like 45 minutes at most. And all I ended up doing was making the glaze, which I used a contrast paint for, and I slapped it all over the Mini, and oh my gosh, the panic that I had. And then I had to walk away. The yellow was just too overbearing. It wasn't reading like lighting at all. I spent the whole night just sort of freaking out. So today I came in and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do like a glaze. I'm not gonna use the contrast paints because I just don't know how to do it yet. Maybe I should have watered it down a lot. But at this point I just had to go in and just do really thin down blends that I thought would work. And so I started mixing in the original color with some yellows to tone it down, and then it still just wasn't reading right. And I think it needed more like oranges. So then I came in with an orange color to get more of the farther away areas. And that's helping a bit, but I still don't think, especially the front inner robes, are reading right. I don't think they're reading like light. I have this band of a darker robe color with all those lanterns in there, and with how bright I'm showcasing them, it just wouldn't make sense for there to be any sort of darkness at all under him. I don't know how I'm gonna fix it. I guess blend more of that color with some orange and try to make it brighter. When I originally started this project, I was like, oh, it's mostly gonna be working with robes and a little bit of OSL. It'd be great. And it ended up being an extremely difficult OSL project, and that's fine, but this is way more challenging than I was anticipating, like at all. I'm hoping it turns out okay at the end, but I definitely am just like adding more layers of paint, trying to fix it. It's getting somewhere. I think once I paint the actual lanterns, it'll look better, but it's hard. This is definitely a lot more challenging piece, especially if you make the lanterns bright like I did. I mean, I ended up earlier looking up some more references of other people that have painted it, which I should do that more often, but I was just like, oh, I kind of get the gist. I watched one tutorial and was like, it's fine. And then I look at a lot more other people's takes on it, and a lot of them made the lamps not very bright so that they can actually color in the robes in different and interesting colors. And I was like, I probably should have done that, or at least just looked at some other ideas. If the lanterns weren't so bright, it would make it a little bit easier to do the OSL, I think. It's too late for that. Not if I want to finish this in the next day or two. So we just gotta push through. I'm gonna get rid of that band of shade under him and finish the lanterns and just try to do all the last little bits and hopefully have him done, if not tonight, tomorrow morning for sure. So let's keep going and we'll see him at the end of this. Let's go. The Watcher in the dark is finished. So I think the lighting reads mostly. It could be better. Overall, I'm okay with it. I think definitely from tabletop standards, you can easily see that the lanterns are reflecting off of it. But I don't know, I keep giving myself higher and higher standards the more I paint, and this one just seems like, you know, okay, it could be better. I really like though the way the lanterns themselves turned out, especially with the dark metallic and painting the filigree. That really made it stand out, and I think that's my favorite piece of everything. I'm definitely not sure about the blue tendrils and the blue faces on that like scarf thing that he's got. I was trying to make it look ethereal and ghosty. I think the tendrils just look like water. And the faces, you can see them a little more, but I should have maybe just kept them like a flesh color to make it almost like a flesh scarf. I'm pretty shocked at where this piece ended up going, because I really wanted to focus on capes, and it ended up being 90% just OSL and working on that, to the point where I even forgot about what I was trying to work on with capes to begin with. I got incredibly sidetracked. In the end, he's done, and I'm excited to play with him soon, because now with the Gambler's Chest out and available to everyone, I've been getting really excited to try playing KDM again. There's just so much to keep learning and so much to continue painting and doing that. It's like every single time I start a new piece, I think, okay, like I've been practicing for a while now. This one should be a piece of cake. And next thing you know, my brain is in overdrive trying to figure out how to paint these specific parts of a model. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's definitely something that surprises me every time. And it shouldn't surprise me anymore, you know, because I'm still new to this. So I'm figuring out how lighting works, how fabrics look and change and reflect, how colors look and change and reflect. It's a lot to think about constantly. He's done. I can't wait to keep going with the next one. And until then, I'll see you guys later. Bye.